Your Denver Broncos were mentioned as a trade destination for the up-and-coming star receiver for the New York Jets, Garrett WIlson. So we're going to break it down on today's episode of the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, wishing everyone a happy New Year's Eve, although I think it's the most overrated holiday ever. So let's get into it, because Ian Rapoport put out some juicy rumors surrounding Wilson and the Jets. Here's what he said. There have been questions regarding whether Rodgers and Wilson can find common ground since they had a blow-up during training camp. While Wilson will not publicly say it, those who know him well believe he's been frustrated at the lack of looks from Rodgers while wondering what else he can do to fix the relationship. And so I saw that, and then I saw this from Fansided, which is just someone's kind of idea, but I did want to bring it up and discuss the possibility of the Broncos maybe trading for the former first-round pick out of Ohio State, who I think has played awesome since going to the most dysfunctional organization in sports, the New York Jets, who, keep in mind, passed on Jerry Jeudy because his Madden rating wasn't high enough for the owner's son's liking. So that's what we're working with here. So if it seems like there's no way the Jets would trade Garrett Wilson, they didn't trade for Jerry Jeudy, who, by the way, is 5th in receiving yards this season because of his Madden rating. The bar's not very high for the New York Jets to make a really dumb, stupid mistake. They do it all the time. It's actually what they're best at. So I am all ears for the idea of trading for Garrett Wilson. One, I think he's a stud wide receiver. I feel like through the turmoil that Jets have had at the quarterback position, from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers to a lot of other no-namers kind of filling in at different points, he has put up really good numbers. 3 straight seasons, over 1,000 yards. He's got 7 touchdowns this year, frustrated at the lack of looks. Nearly 100 grabs, so I'm not quite sure where the frustration's coming from, but whatever. He's frustrated, and I'm here for it because the Broncos could be the big winners coming out of this. So I'm all ears, and I love the idea of Denver at least picking up the phone and seeing what the asking price is for Wilson, although there's really no one on the other end to pick up at the moment because the Jets have fired their head coach and their GM, so it might take a little bit. But if you're wondering what a trade could cost, I think this is a rough idea. Garrett Wilson, along with a 4th-round draft pick for Denver's 1st-round pick. The 4th I kind of put in there just for you and me so the Broncos get something back, but they probably wouldn't get a 4th. It would probably just be Wilson for a 1st since the Jets took him with a 1st-round draft pick. And I think if Garrett Wilson entered the draft today, he would go before Denver's pick in round 1. So overall, it's probably a good deal for the Broncos. And for the Jets, it's probably not a great deal just because they're trading away a proven player. And it's so hard to find players in the draft despite us making it sound so easy every single year. So you're moving on from a known commodity for an unknown commodity. But hey, the Jets are idiots. So we're here for it. But let me know, would you do this trade if you were the Peyton duo? If the Jets called and said, listen, it's not working. We want an extra 1st-rounder so we can trade up and get a quarterback. We'll give you Wilson and a day 3 pick, and you give us your 1st-round draft pick. If it were up to me, I would do it in a heartbeat. I know when we talk about parting ways, the valuable draft pick like a 1st-rounder, it's rightfully so something you proceed a little bit slow with caution, and you do your due diligence, and you go through the pros and cons. But I see a guy with 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons where Aaron Rodgers is having the worst season of his career. He missed all of last year, so Wilson was playing with another Wilson, Zach Wilson, which, by the way, sidebar, if Denver were to trade for Garrett Wilson, that would mark 3 straight years of acquiring a Wilson. They would basically just have, like, what's the movie, Castaway, rolling all the time at the facility. Russell Wilson, Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson. If they all wore the same number, that would be such a bargain for anyone that bought a Russell Wilson jersey. But I would do it in a heartbeat. I think Garrett Wilson is awesome. I think Bo Nix could benefit a ton from this. So for me, I'm in. I'm willing to jump in head first. But we do have to discuss whether or not Denver needs to add a receiver, which we'll do next. And is it wise for them to move on from that 1st-round pick and what that 1st-round pick could amount to? But first, a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Here are some selection examples. I'm taking the more on Baker Mayfield in their season finale, potentially, if they lose or win. We'll see how it happens. Anywho, taking the more on him against the Saints, and then the more on Justin Jefferson because that's going to be for the 1 seed, and then the less on Aaron Rodgers because he sucks. So, yeah, that's why. But download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. So I want to kind of bridge the conversation over to, does Denver need to add a wide receiver? Is this a need for the team? I'd say yes. I think we have seen enough from Bo Nix this year for sure to believe you really got something here and you should invest in your investment, right? You built a nice home. It's on a good piece of property. Bring some nice furniture in. If you built a home and then you discovered, oh, it's on a bad piece of property and it's starting to sink into the ground, that would not be a good time to put a big plasma screen TV in there. But it's not. It is a good home. It's good property. You should invest in your investment. Spend money to make money. I love what I've seen so far out of Courtland Sutton. He's going to get to 1,000 yards for the first time since 2019. I think this is even better than his 10-touchdown season he had a year ago. Marvin Mims has come on strong the last couple of weeks. Devon Vele, for being a late day 3 draft pick, has been a security blanket. Troy Franklin, I'm not going to make any hard, fast conclusions on. He's a rookie. But for me, the conversation really revolves around whether or not Denver believes Courtland Sutton can continue to be a number 1 receiver for this team for years to come. He's 29 years old. He'll turn 30 next October. 2025 is the final year of that 4-year extension he signed back in 2021. It's got a $20.2 million cap hit. However, the Broncos trying to, kick the can down the road a little bit and spread some cap hits out. They added some void years onto Sutton's deal. Void years are years added to a contract. The player's not on the team for those years, but it allows the team to spread the cap hit out over multiple years so they can lower the cap hit for 1 year and not take on such a big cap hit percentage in one season. So if you've got void years added already, well, you can fill those void years with real years of a contract. So my prediction is, with the way Sutton has played this year and him going into a contract year, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a 1 to 2 year contract extension. I don't think there's going to be some massive long-term commitment made, but he's a veteran, he's a leader on this team, and he has played so well this year that I don't think Denver wants to potentially lose him after 2025. I know that Bill Belichick saying of better to move on 1 year too early than 1 year too late, but I could see him getting a 1 year, $20 million extension, and that puts him on the books for 2 seasons, 2025 and 2026. But ultimately, Garrett Wilson's got 5 years of youth on his side against Courtland Sutton, and he has been fantastic with inconsistent quarterback play his entire NFL career. So even with Sutton sticking around for another season or 2, I'm still comfortable with adding another receiver. So the other side that I want to talk about is, what about the whole first-round draft pick? Let's not gloss over that. That's a valuable piece of valuable asset to have, something Denver hasn't had a whole lot of the last few years. Just Bo Nix, the only first-round pick since Pat Surtain in 2021. So let's talk about this first-round pick, because I think a common issue that general football fans run into is we equate all first-round picks as equal. They're not. First-round pick, top 10, is very different than first-round pick in the 20s. And right now, Denver is slated to pick 20th overall. These 6 teams right here from Tankathon, these are the wild card losers, not their predictions, but just based on their record. Once you get to the postseason, if you have, let's say you go into the postseason 9-8, but you go all the way to the Super Bowl, you are going to pick 32nd or 31st, right? But if the Broncos were to lose in the wild card round, they would go towards the bottom of the draft order, so around that 19-20-ish range, because The Packers and the Rams have better records, so they would pick later in that wild card blocking. Does that make some level of sense? So this is just a rough idea of where Denver could be picking. We'll have a better idea when the NFL Combine in February rolls around as to where players are roughly going to go. I love Ashton Jeanty for Denver. But if by February everyone's expecting Jeanty to be a top 10 pick and Denver's picking somewhere in the 20s, we should not get our hopes up about Jeanty falling, right? So at this present moment, we should not be making big conclusions on, you can't give up a first rounder. I want to get Jeanty. Well, what if Jeanty's going to go 12 picks before Denver anyway? Oh, well, if that's the case, then yeah, go get Garrett WIlson. So there's no rush to get this done. This is a couple of weeks, down the line at the very least, probably closer to months than weeks. But if by the Combine, Denver's top guys are going to go way before them, Theo Johnson, the tight end, or Colston Loveland, another tight end, or Ashton Jeanty, and you're like, well, those three guys are all expected to go top 20, and Denver's picking 24th. If you're picking 24th and your three favorite players are gone, I'd rather have Garrett WIlson. So we can, debate about the draft element of this part once we know where Denver is specifically picking and who's expected to go around that pick and who's not going to be available. But surface level, at this present moment, I'm comfortable with the idea of moving on from that first round pick for a known commodity like Garrett WIlson. Before we get on out of here, what is your New Year's resolution for the Broncos? For me, it's they find a run game, which Jeanty would be a great way to do that. But if he's going to be a top 10, top 15 draft pick, we don't need to, put our faith and put all of our eggs in that basket if it's just completely out of the question. So for me, it's Denver finds a run game in 2025. Before we get on out of here, I do want to give a big shout out to Storm Chasen, who has been a huge supporter here at Chat Sports, with a super thanks as well. This was from like 2 weeks ago, so a little bit of dating to it. But he said, I feel like if Bo plays good in a playoff game and wins, as long as a Commanders loss, that will really boost his Rookie of the Year status and maybe even win it. The awards are decided by the regular season. So Bo could win the Super Bowl, and that probably would influence some voters, but it's not supposed to. So it's a regular season award. And I feel like with Bo kind of losing a little bit of momentum recently and Daniels gaining momentum, and just voters having so much recency bias. And since Daniels was just a popular name from the start, I feel like it's probably swinging back towards Jaden Daniels, but it's an award. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Thank you to everyone who tuned into today's episode. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful New Year's Eve and a New Year's Day tomorrow. We got lots of football to watch, so it's going to be awesome. Make sure to subscribe, and a big shout out, as always, to the Blue and Orange Club.